Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, if you did not know, former President Donald Trump has revealed his VP shortlist, and he has narrowed it down to five potential candidates, or five candidates for his VP or running mate. And those candidates include Governor of Dakota Kristi Noem, Byron Donald, I believe who is a representative, and South Carolinian Senator, I believe, Tim Scott, as well as entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy. And last but not least, person who made this list as well is former Democrat, who I believe now is an independent, who was a Democratic candidate for the 2020 Democratic primaries, Tulsi Gabbard. So these are the five potential VP picks that Donald Trump has revealed in his shortlist. He narrowed it down to five specific candidates, and here are his candidates. In today's video, I'm going to be ranking them a tier list. And at number 5, we have the worst candidate F-rated. Doesn't mean that they're the worst out of any other candidate, but meaning they probably would be ranked bottom out of all these candidates. And then number 4, they're going to be ranked in the D tier. And then number 3 will be ranked as a C tier. And then number 2 candidate will be having a B graded rating, and as well as number 1 graded A, meaning that they probably would be the best VP for Donald Trump out of all these five. Donald Trump has specifically stated publicly in an interview on Fox News that one of these candidates is on his list, and one of them, and one only, will be his VP, whether it's Tulsi Gabbard or Vivek Ramaswamy. One of these five candidates on the screen right now that you're seeing will be his VP, and that's coming from Donald Trump. He said this himself. But before we do get started, I do want to mention that we have channel memberships. The link to them will be pinned in the comment section down below, or you can find them in the description section, or you can just click the join button on my channel page. Become a member today. We have custom perks and custom emojis. Also, we just hit 1,000 subscribers, meaning we're now on the road to 2,000 subscribers. So make sure you are subscribed already. And don't forget to click the bell so you get notified whenever I upload video, instead of messing out on any of them. So now back to the video. Let's start off with the worst candidate for Donald Trump's VP up here on this list. So starting off at number 5, we have Kristi Noem, Governor of Dakota. So, I mean, the reason why I put her at 5 does not necessarily mean she's a bad VP at all, but what it does mean is that she's the worst out of all these candidates up here specifically. And the reason I say this is because, okay, you take a look at, the positives about her being Trump's VP is, number 1, she would appeal to the MAGA base, so maybe she's good at that. But the negatives about her is what she can't do is that she can't appeal to independents or, undecided voters, and that's what the election ultimately comes down to, folks. What you got to remember is that Trump needs to pick a VP, or any person in general, even Joe Biden, or any nominee needs to pick a VP that can reach out to the undecided voters, because that obviously is going to ultimately come down to the outcome of the election, and that's what happened in 2020. So with that being said, I'm not saying Kamala Harris helped Biden win with the undecided voters, but that's, what it is. And also, number 2, what to account for is that if Trump were to get removed from office somehow, the VP takes the presidency at the number 2 spot or position. So they got to be ready to be president. So that's very important. And I don't think Kristi Noem is ready for that yet. I really don't. So she's at number 5. I'm going to give her an F-rated tier. So positive about her is she can reach out to the MAGA base. She'll probably help Trump get high turnout. And the negatives about her is that she doesn't have that much name recognition. Not a lot of people know her. The only people that's probably going to know her is of her state. That's pretty much it. Or just the MAGA base in general. If you were to ask a undecided voter, or even a Democrat, Trump might have to appeal to Democrats as well. That's one thing he can do in order to win the election. And if you were to ask them who Kristi Noem is, I don't think she's not that popular is what I'm trying to say, because she's a governor of a state with not a lot of people, their population is really low. So I rank her bottom of the list at number 5. And also, one last thing I want to mention about Kristi Noem before we move on to number 4 is that recently, or a few months ago, back in a rally, Trump actually had his marketing brand. It actually said Trump Noem 2024. So maybe that was a good hint at, Trump hinting that he's picking Kristi Noem, because on the sign it said Trump Noem 2024 at his rally. With that being said, maybe that's a hint. But if you were to pick Kristi Noem out of all these 5 candidates in his shortlist, I think he'll probably miss out on probably a better candidate because I don't think she is the best candidate. Like I said, she doesn't have that much name recognition. I don't think she can appeal to those undecided independent voters. I mean, maybe she can appeal to the MAGA base and get high turnout among the red states, but the election comes down to the battleground states, really. So now moving on to number 4 on the D tier is going to be Byron Donald, who I believe is a representative, and recently he was on an interview on NBC News with Kristen Welker. You can check that out if you want to. Byron Donald is, in my opinion, the opposite of Kristi Noem. What he can do is he's a good public speaker. And I'm not sure if Kristi Noem is a good public speaker. Byron Donald is a good public speaker. I think he might be able to appeal to some of the African-American voters in some of these battleground states, key battleground states, and which actually helped Biden win the 2020 election. So it's going to be key in this election as well. Why wouldn't it be? So if Byron Donald can appeal to the African-American base, and Biden got high turnout among them in 2020, which ultimately helped him, which I don't think he will in 2024. So that's just one thing that Byron Donald brings to the table. Another thing is that, similar to he's a good public speaker, unlike Kristi Noem, he can appeal to the MAGA base just like Kristi Noem. He's a conservative. He's a Trumper. He's not a neocon. He's not part of the establishment. So he's pro-MAGA. That's pretty much what it is, and that's pretty much what Donald Trump is looking for. He's looking for someone to bend the knee and basically praise Donald Trump nonstop. That's what Trump is looking for, and Byron Donald brings exactly that. He will never back down, and he will always support Donald Trump, unlike Mike Pence. He's the opposite of Mike Pence. Byron Donald was basically suck up to Donald Trump. That's what he pretty much would do, and that's what he exactly would do. He would appeal to the MAGA base, and he will get high turnout among the red states. So that's probably a plus. But one of the few negatives is that he doesn't have a crazy resume. And these VP candidates need to have a good resume in order to, win over, appeal the undecided voters. I'm not sure if he can appeal to the undecided voters. He may be looked at or seen as more of a pro-MAGA Trump crazy radical extremist Republican, and that's what he may be viewed as on the left. So he definitely cannot appeal Democrats, and he definitely cannot appeal undecided voters. And he's a great public speaker. He would do great at Trump rallies. And the only thing he would do is basically suck up to Trump, bend the knee, and only talk pro-MAGA. And he's definitely not a neocon. He's not part of the establishment, and that's what Donald Trump likes. So at number 4, we have Byron Donald. And then number 3 on C-rated graded tier list, Scott, similar to Byron Donald, he can help with the African-American voters. Maybe he can help Trump win a state. Maybe he can help Trump win back a state like Georgia, for example, which obviously has a high African-American population, which helped Joe Biden win because he got a lot of high turnout. And if Trump gets someone who is African-American themselves, like someone like Tim Scott, like Byron Donald, maybe Trump can perform better or overperform expectations among blacks, which is something that Joe Biden did in 2020, which this time around in 2024, I don't think Joe Biden will do the same. So Tim Scott is a great public speaker. He's very charismatic, and he's very interesting. Some people even call him weird, which I don't know if that's a good thing. It may not seem like a good thing, but it kind of is. He's very charismatic, and he brings a lot to the table. He can speak very well at rallies. He actually showed up in a lot of Trump rallies, and if you haven't checked that out, he can appeal to the MAGA base very, very well, and he has good relations with Donald Trump. And Trump has stated himself that he is looking very closely at an option like Tim Scott. And he's very well considering Tim Scott as his VP. Trump said this himself. He is considering Tim Scott. And similar to Byron Donald, he can help with the African-American voters. He appeals to the MAGA base, which some of these neocons cannot do. And none of these each candidates are neocons, by the way. You don't see a Mitt Romney. Obviously, you don't see that up on here. You don't see a Liz Cheney on here. Obviously, Donald Trump will never consider that. This is Trump's specific shortlist. Obviously, you don't see any neocon candidate because this is Trump's exact shortlist that he stated himself. So Tim Scott, I think, can do wonders for Donald Trump. He can definitely appeal to the MAGA base. He's a great speaker, unlike Kristi Noem, similar to Byron Donald. So either or would probably be great, but Trump picking Tim Scott is probably a higher chance than Byron Donald. So that's why Tim Scott is rated higher than Byron Donald on this tier list. There might be a little small chance where Tim Scott is able to peel off some of the undecided voters, maybe in some sort of scenario, but I mean, he doesn't specialize in that, I would say. So he's definitely more pro-MAGA, I would say. He definitely bends the knee to Donald Trump. Obviously, he endorsed Donald Trump. And moving on to number 2, B-rated tier is Vivek Ramaswamy, entrepreneur and a former Republican candidate for president. Has appeared in numerous rallies, a number of Trump rallies. And Donald Trump has confirmed that Vivek Ramaswamy will be in his cabinet position. He has not specified on which cabinet position Vivek Ramaswamy will hold if Trump is president, but what we can say is that he very well can be Trump's VP. He very well can, because Donald Trump confirmed that he's going to be somewhere on the cabinet position, but he just did not say whether it's going to be VP or something else. Now, if it is VP, I think it's very likely, and it has a high chance that Vivek Ramaswamy does very well end up being Trump's VP. And here are some of the positives. He can appeal to the MAGA base. He's definitely pro-MAGA. He's definitely pro-Trump. Similar to a lot of these candidates up here, he bends the knee to Donald Trump. He just sucks up to Donald Trump, does whatever he says, and that's what Trump is looking forward to do. Now, with Mike Pence was more of a neocon. He was part of the establishment, and that's not what Vivek Ramaswamy is. And Vivek Ramaswamy is actually similar to Donald Trump. He's an outsider, and that's what Donald Trump loves. He loves outsiders. He's anti-establishment. So that is two things that Trump and Vivek have in common, is that they're both outsiders, and they're both entrepreneurs ultimately. So with that being said, I think Vivek Ramaswamy has higher chances of being vice president for Trump or running mate than any other candidate up here so far. So also appeal to the youth vote and get some of those voters and maybe get them even to register, and they might not even have voted before, and that can help Trump in some of these key battleground states. And Joe Biden did tremendous with the youth vote. He overperformed expectations back in 2020. And if Donald Trump picks someone like Vivek Ramaswamy, who actually is on TikTok currently, so considering that, I think Vivek Ramaswamy can do wonders in terms of help Trump getting the youth vote. And on to number 1, who I think Trump absolutely should pick as his VP or running mate. So if I were Trump, this is the candidate who I would pick as my VP. Former 2020 Democratic primary candidate, Tulsi Gabbard from Hawaii. She is a former Democrat, which that is something she has in common with Donald Trump when it comes to similarities, like Vivek Ramaswamy, who is an outsider just like Donald Trump was. Similar with Tulsi Gabbard, she has something in common with Trump as well, just like Vivek Ramaswamy, is that both her and Trump are former Democrats. And what Trump loves is having stuff in common with other people, and that's what he loves. And people may say that she is a Democratic plant and Trump should not pick her as his VP. Well, actually, she has said wonderful things about Donald Trump and how Donald Trump's first term was better than Joe Biden's first term, and that's what she has basically been saying. And with that being said, I think Tulsi Gabbard actually makes a great VP, because a lot of the positives is that she will actually appeal a lot of the undecided voters away from Biden into Trump's favor. And Tulsi Gabbard brings a lot to the table, and she actually can help get Democrats to vote for someone like Donald Trump. I'm not saying she will, but I'm saying she very well can. And she has potential to win a lot of the undecided voters and a lot of the independents, because she is not someone who is far right. In fact, she is not a Republican at all, and she's not someone who is far left. She is in the middle, and she is moderate, and she is a former Democrat, and I think that's actually going to help a lot. Some of the negatives is that she may not be that much pro-MAGA at all. I don't think she is pro-MAGA. She's more of, I would say, anti-Biden, and that's pretty much what it is. She's more anti-Biden rather than pro-MAGA, so she actually does not appeal to the MAGA base. She may not, and I think that's okay, because undecided voters matter more, and she can appeal to undecided voters, because that ultimately decides the outcome of the 2024 presidential election. And Donald Trump has stated specifically that he is highly considering Tulsi Gabbard as his VP. So there you guys go. This is my rankings of Donald Trump's short list of VP or vice president candidates. Tulsi Gabbard at number 1, Vivek Ramaswamy at number 2, Tim Scott at number 3, Byron Donald at number 4, and Kristi Noem at the very last at number 5. So let me know if you agree with this list, and if you were to change anything, what would you change in the comment section down below. And one last final reminder before we end out the video is we do have channel memberships. The link to them will be pinned in the comment section down below, or you can find it in the description section, or you can just click the join button on my channel page. Become a member today. We have custom perks and custom emojis. Also, don't forget to subscribe as we are now approaching 2,000 subscribers, and click the bell so you get notified whenever I upload a video instead of missing any.